Well, hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video, and this video is going to be a very special one because this is a video I really wanted to do since like last year. I had this idea but never got around to doing it, so here I am finally doing it. And yeah, I'm just going to take you a trip down memory lane full of nostalgia on why I love movies and the journey that I've been going through since I was a very little person. So this entire journey all started when I was maybe like 2 years old. Yes, that's very young to start watching movies, but hey, who gives a shit? But I think the earliest movie that I remember watching was Elmo in Grouchland. And now, yeah, you can say that, yeah, it's obviously a kid's movie, but it was a movie that I would rewatch all the time. Like, all the time. Like, so much that my parents would get annoyed every time I would want to watch it because they've probably seen it 10,000 times just because I wanted to watch it 10,000 times. And now I want to talk about my first ever VHS experience. Well, yes, I did technically have the VHS for Elmo and Grouchland. Yeah, but I don't actually have it with me, but I have an interesting story about the VHS I'm about to tell you about. So I remember very vividly that I was in a grocery store with my parents, and at the close to the cash, right, we're about to pay, there's this like stand of like VHS and DVD of the Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, 2002, on VHS and DVD, standing right there. And yeah, I just looked at it and I was like, this looks cool, and I actually kind of want it just because it looks cool. And here it is. I still have it in my possession. It's a bit destroyed because, I was a kid and I was very naughty, and I would I would play with it so much that it ripped the cover of the VHS, and it's like all taped together. But yeah, I wanted to get this, and my parents got it for me just because I thought it looked cool. And this was a rewatch like on repeat. Like, it was insane. I rewatched it so many times, even went through the credits. At the end of the credits, there's like a music video of Hero of Chad Kroger. Oh my god, I just replayed that song all the time as a kid. And because of that, I literally memorized this movie from like A to Z by heart. I know all the lines, all the scenes, the order of how they go. It's crazy. And we also had a satellite dish, and lots of movies would play on there. We couldn't afford like every VHS movie out there, but what we would do is that my parents would get a blank VHS at the dollar store, and we would record the movies that would play on TV. Like, there were so many movies like Monsters Inc., the first two Lord of the Rings, Lilo and Stitch, Stuart Little 2. I'm sure there's more, but I remember all those movies that I just named just now, I would rewatch so many times, over and over and over and over and over again. And yeah, just the nostalgia when I see those movies, even to this day, it just hits really strong, Oh, I forgot to name another movie, Jurassic Park. Now, okay, here's the thing. I watched Jurassic Park 3 first, actually. And yeah, no shame, no shame. And then after that, I watched Jurassic Park 1. We rented it at the video store, and I was more terrified of the first Jurassic Park than the third one. So much that we had to return it immediately because I didn't want to watch it again. But after a few years, I maybe like 6, 7 years old, I wanted to rewatch all of them. And yeah, I love Jurassic Park 1. I can rewatch it without getting scared. But yeah, because of Jurassic Park, I remember Dr. Grant, played by Sam Neill. He was like my favorite character ever. He was my idol. And I would actually dress up as Dr. Grant and pretend to be chased by dinosaurs in the backyard. And yeah, I had the fedora, the plaid shirt, even the bag full of, those Easter egg dollar store thingies. Yeah, I use that as dinosaur eggs. Yeah. Now, if you watch one of my previous videos, it's called Why the Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie of all time right here. I did mention that my first movie theater experience, which I'm going to talk about right now, my first movie theater experience was actually The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King in 2003. Yes, that's crazy for a 4-year-old kid to go watch Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It was a 3 hour and 20-minute movie, and I sat there completely focused. I wasn't like whining about like when the movie was gonna be done so I can go home. No, I was actually into it, and I actually really wanted to watch it because I remember watching the first two movies, and I was like, how's this all gonna end? Like, are we gonna see Sauron get defeated? Like, I wanted to see that, and getting to actually see that on a big screen for the first time ever was insane at 4 years old, and I was just so into the story. So yeah, crazy kid, right? Around the 2005, 2006 era, that's when I first went into a video rental store, and that was such a magical experience. You can stay in there for like 2 hours trying to look for a movie, even if it would annoy my dad so much that me and my sister would take so long to trying to pick a movie or even a video game. I remember as a kid, I was really starting to get into James Bond, and I still am now. But the only movies that I've seen of James Bond was like the Pierce Brosnan, well, actually just Die Another Day, I think, and Casino Royale. And I wanted to rewatch like all of them, like Sean Connery, Roger Moore, George Lazenby. I wanted to watch all of them, Timothy Dalton. And yeah, the video rental store was there for that because we didn't have enough money to get the whole like box set. So why not just rent them all at the video store like every weekend, just rent a different Bond movie. So yeah, I think Bond movies really was a really nostalgic time for me with video rental stores because of that. Around the same time as well, I also started getting into movie soundtracks because of my dad, and he would like show me all these like soundtracks from like Casino Royale, Lord of the Rings, Spider-Man, all this stuff. It was such a fascination for me because like you can actually like kind of watch a movie, but just the music. And it was like so mesmerizing for me as a kid that you could actually do that. And yeah, all I remember all those soundtracks were in this. Remember what this is? Remember what this is? It's an iPod Nano, and all of my soundtracks and other music stuff, but movie soundtrack, they were all on here, and I would listen to them all the time. I remember even listening to the Casino Royale soundtrack like to school, even though I wasn't supposed to bring this to school because it was actually pretty valuable back then. Sorry. And because of that, I still listen to movie soundtrack to this day. Like Top Gun Maverick came out, and when I got home, I immediately went like, oh, I need to listen to the soundtrack right fucking now. I even did the same thing with Begin Again. Remember, like Begin Again was like a music movie, and I was like, the music's so good in Begin Again. I need to hear these songs like at home, like without like I want to rewatch the movie someday for sure, but I also want to listen to the music. I remember the year 2010 was the first time I ever got a Blu-ray player and a Blu-ray movie. So yeah, I just want to show you guys, but this is the this is the Blu-ray player. It's a Sony, and yeah, first ever Blu-ray player. Lots of memories with this. Been using this for like almost 14 years, I think, and now I'm using the 4K player. But yeah, for like 14 years, I've been using this handy dandy Blu-ray player.
We need our handy dandy notebook.
And it's really good, really good. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep it from memory. Up until 2010, I was watching a lot of like family movies, action movies, adventure movies, fantasy. I wasn't really like opening myself. Like I was in like a little bubble of like watching. Well, obviously I was a kid, so it makes sense that I would watch movies like that. But 2010, I was around 10, 11 years old, was the year where I really like started to discover new types of films that I never thought I would ever watch in my life. And it was when the Academy Awards, I think it was the 83rd, they had their Best Picture nominations, and there was like The King's Speech, The Fighter, 127 Hours, Black Swan, The Social Network, and I even saw Inception that year in theaters just because I loved the idea that, from the director of The Dark Knight, and it just made me, as a 10-year-old kid, want to go watch Inception. And when I first saw those films, I was like, damn, there's like more to movies than just like blockbusters, action, adventure stuff. There's more to film than just that. And yeah, films like Inception and even Ben Affleck's The Town inspired me as a little kid to actually start filmmaking. Yeah, I did some filmmaking when I was younger, and honestly, it was some of the best times in my life actually doing that and getting the chance to actually try and make my own films the way I want them, and the process of like setting up the actors. Well, there was not many actors. I was in them as well. And I think the most fun part for me was probably the editing process, adding the music, the sound, the visual effects, and seeing the finishing product and actually putting it on a DVD. Yes, I did do that. Another aspect of movies that I really love is getting to rewatch these movies. Yes, I did mention at the beginning of the video that I would rewatch movies as a kid all the time over and over again because it was just so fun, you know, Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. But nowadays, I feel like rewatching has definitely a different meaning than rewatching when I was younger, because rewatching now is not just because, oh, it's a good movie. Yes, I do rewatch it because it's a good movie and because I love it as well. But it's also a way of kind of like traveling back in time. You know, for example, like what The Theory of Everything. I saw that in theaters in 2014, and I remember that can you believe 2014 was 10 years ago? Yeah. Anyway, so when I pop in the Blu-ray for Theory of Everything, I'm like reminded of the time in 2014, you know, what I was doing when that movie came out. You know, I was in high school, and it kind of helps you remember like the hype to the movie. Like I remember I was hyping up the Hobbit movies back then, and yeah, the Hobbit movies aren't the best, but there's something about the excitement that I felt back then that you can go back to, you know, revisit when you rewatch those movies, you know? And every time I rewatch Top Gun Maverick, for example, yes, I'm going to talk about Top Gun Maverick again because I don't give a shit. I love this movie so much. But rewatching Top Gun Maverick kind of brings, yeah, it was almost just like a year and a half ago. But that movie had such a big impact in my life. You know, I watched it 4 times in theaters. I've never done that before. That whenever I rewatch it now, it kind of brings me back to that summer. You know, summer 2022, me buying aviator glasses, wearing white t-shirts, and, you know, watching the movie 4 times, obviously. Another thing that's really great about rewatching movies is if you're feeling a particular mood. You know, like recently I've been feeling kind of like a grunge, punk mood. And so, of course, I watched Girl with a Giant Tattoo and The Batman. And I was like, I watched them kind of like back to back. And yeah, there's definitely some similarities in both of those movies. In terms of the shots and the cinematography. Yeah, Matt Reeves took some inspiration from Dragon Tattoo. I love those movies so much because of that. And because of that, I've kind of like been listening to a lot of grunge, punk, rock music. Yeah. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Those are all the reasons and my whole journey about why I love movies and how much it means to me. So tell me, why do you love movies? Let me know in the comments, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.